Again, thank you so much for being here today. If you haven't gotten a shirt, grab a shirt, they're free. Make sure when you... Hey, we don't sound. Look at this.
There we go.
This is exciting. I think I'm one of the perfect people to have issues go on with my event because I just roll with it. That's what happens. That's life, y'all. And we have a great crowd here. So I want to thank everyone who showed up today because we are here. We do not want data centers in our state. And we are asking Governor Walz to put a 2-year moratorium on data centers. And we've seen that the city of Minneapolis, we've seen communities all over Minnesota put up their own moratoriums on data centers. And we're going to hear from our speakers today why it's so important that we show up and we resist these data centers. But before we bring up these beautiful speakers, I'm going to ask our youth to come speak the original language of the land and really open us up in a good way and show us why we are doing this and why we're working so hard to do this.
Wachichuya zili erksini makyapye Dakota imakyapye Damakota kha Tinta winta himatahan Tinta winta erkwati Dakota iapi Bamik each Wanea tunapchi wanka Nina wachi washte wadake Hina na padamya yapi.
That's one of the reasons I show up every day. I don't have kids of my own, but then I have them showing up, and I'm like, oh gosh, I got to do something. Really got to do something. I'm really excited to introduce the next speaker, Rachel Dion Thunder from the Indigenous Protectors Movement. She really inspires me to show up and continue to be a leader. I've seen her do the tough work, and her like many other people, know how dangerous it can be to stand up for your community and stand up for your people. And she keeps showing up over and over and over again. So I'm really excited, and I really hope you really listen to the words she has to share with us.
This is Rachel D on Thunder. I just said hello, and I thanked each of you individually and to everybody collectively. Not everybody that is only here with us on the steps of the Minnesota State Capitol, but for everybody that is watching from home, that is watching in the future, that is sitting in their communities, standing up and doing the right thing. My name is Rachel D on Thunder. I'm Plains Cree, Nihial, Nihiwak, Big Stone Cree Nation, Treaty 8. I'm the CEO and one of the co-founders of the Indigenous Protector Movement. We're based here in the Twin Cities in South Minneapolis. I'm also second generation American Indian movement. I live here in South Minneapolis. I'm a mother, I'm an auntie, I'm a sister, and honestly, I'm just a community member that's fed up. Woo! I'm fed up with this government. And I know that a lot of people across what we know as the United States government, the United States of America, is just now waking up to a reality that we, as Indigenous people, as Native people, have known since the beginning of colonization. We are not new to fighting the federal government. We are not new to fighting authoritarian regimes. We are not new to organizing in our communities to do the right thing, to protect our children, to protect our families, to protect our communities, and to protect the earth. AI data centers are relatively a new thing, but they are not new in the way that this government and that Western capitalism works. Right. AI data centers not only threaten the earth, threaten the water, threaten the air, threaten the soil, our relatives. They threaten our way of life. Because don't be fooled. These systems, these AI data systems, are a tool used by this administration, by colonial governments, to control individuals, to control our information, to control our lives, to control surveillance on the people, and what we do every day just to be a good relative. And so as Indigenous people, as Native people, we're not alone in this fight. Because what I see not only in Minnesota, but across the country, is regardless of culture or background, nobody wants an AI data center next to their home, next to their community, and not only not in their backyard, but not at all.
That's right.
And so this is really an issue that all people can get behind. And let Indigenous people take the lead. Let Native people take the lead. We've been doing this for generations. We know how this works. We know how to start things. We know how to do our ceremonies, our prayers. We know how to do the offerings to the land. And we know how to meet our prayers halfway with action. Woo! The way the world is developing and has developed is not going to stop unless we make it do so. AI and AI technology will most likely be a part of our futures. But there are ways that we don't have to have these mass AI data centers on the land. The only reason that they want to build mass AI data centers is to harvest and collect your information and your data. There are alternatives. There's an alternative that each person could even have their own individual data storage. This system and this government does not have to own your information. They are not entitled to everything that you do and that you say and that you write and that you look at. They are not entitled to replace the creativity of our artists. They are not entitled to take our faces and our voices and to spin it and create their own narratives. And they're not entitled to control people through mass manipulation. And that's exactly what these AI data centers are built to do. We cannot let this happen. Right now, around the Twin Cities Metro, there's 5 proposed massive AI data centers. In the state of Minnesota, there's over 20. Across the entire state of Minnesota, not including just the mass AI data centers, all AI data centers, there's 52. 52 proposed data centers across the state. How could we allow that to happen? This institution, these colonial systems of government, are an illusion of power. They create massive monuments and buildings, and they write fancy laws with complicated words to create an illusion of power. The real power, the true power, is with the people. And it is that power that scares this system. That's why they want to control us. That's why they want to intimidate us. That's why they want to threaten us with federal agents. That's why they bring violence to our streets and to our communities. Because that's the illusion of their power. That's all they have. And what we have is much stronger. As long as everybody does what is right and stands up and says, I will not allow this to happen, that we hold elected officials in these positions of power, that we hold them accountable to their oath to their constituents, that we ground what we do in love and in ceremony and prayer, that this will not be allowed to happen, and that these institutions will feel the real power of the people. We have a right to our information. We have a right to our privacy. We have a right to our ways of life. We have a right to drink clean water. We have a right to breathe clean air. We have a right to be able to harvest wild rice in the boundary waters until the end of time. And we have the right that even though on days it seems hard, on days that it seems impossible, that we have the right to stand up and do the right thing. So I want to thank Makwa for inviting us out, for being able to co-host this event today. Everybody, go back to your communities. You don't have to go to Washington, D.C. The most powerful organizing happens right at home. Have conversations with your friends. Have have conversations with your relatives. Go and talk to your city councils. Talk to your local reps. Because that is how we build what is called democratic power. It starts from the ground up, not from the top down. So I want to thank everybody again for coming here today, this beautiful day, and ask Walz to enact not only a 2-year moratorium, but to not allow these massive AI data centers in the state of Minnesota, period, ever. Thank you, everybody.
Oh my gosh, that's powerful. Just listening to her gives me more energy to show up and battle these data centers. So I really hope that you were listening to Rachel. She said some very powerful, important things. I think Joey Peltier, everyone, with Matwa. He's the one who organized all this. Are we good?
Almost.
The next speaker we're going to bring up is Isabella Lopez, the Indigenous Protectors Movement. When I saw her show up for her community, I was shaking. I was crying. I was 5 hours away, and I was ready to jump in the car and do what needed to be done to support our leaders. And I'm so grateful that she is here with us today, and I really hope you also listen to her words, because she's been there. She knows how to...
Shauna, can you flip it that way? Turn it down?
Yeah.
English. And turn it down to like 1 notch. Try it again.
Hello.
Hello?
Yep, hello.
Try
Hello. Okay, so we're working again. So with everything our next speaker has been through, I really would like for you to give her a big welcome.
Hello? Okay, I know I'm short, but I have to read this. Dios no la Venezuela. Hola, me llamo Isabela. Hello, hi. I just want to give a big round of applause and a lot of love to Rachel and also just all of my northern relatives here in Minnesota. Right now, Minnesota still has clean water. Minnesota still has the duty to protect the clean water and the clean riches, that it has right now. Whether or not this world has realized it, we have already been building a new world. This is the virtual world we carry around in our pockets every day. This digital world also requires so much space from us to hold not just mentally, but physically as well. Big tech companies have managed to use our data into currency and into a new digital market with data centers. They are using the legacy of colonization as they are building this new world. We do not need data centers. We don't need them. This is a system that's built so that they can have more monetization and control over where we go and how we use our information. There is such thing as data sovereignty. That is something that they're not teaching to us right now. We do not need AI. There is 103 to 160 planned or that's already built data centers near native lands, including here in northern Minnesota. This digital world requires us to talk about digital militarization. Digital militarization allows them to have control and access to wherever we are. When June 3rd went down, after that, they were able to find where I was, how I went home that day, all because of the cameras that FBI agents had on themselves, but also from the cameras that they have instilled all over the city. And with those same cameras, they can have access to where you are at any time. That is a lack of security and a lack of sovereignty on the person itself.
That's right.
And with right now, in my case, I can't show people what the evidence, but what I can say was through the evidence I saw, they were able to dig up anything and everything about me because they were able to find my license plate. With my license plate alone. Now, I'm not saying all this to scare everybody, but we all have a duty and we all have the responsibility to say, you don't have access to my information. They don't need access to your information. And that's why we have, for the next generation, we have to demand a just transition. Minnesota has the responsibility to be on that just transition. We have 4 years left before environmental catastrophe, and data centers will only speed this up. This digital world that is currently being built is being designed to be more reliant on the fossil fuel industry. In North America alone, in 2025, data centers use up 1 trillion liters of water. And data centers consume 6% of electricity used in the US. And it's on the way to double. In our lifetime, we are going to see data centers surpass the fossil fuel industry to be the #1 contributor to the climate crisis. No matter who you are or where you come from, you have the duty to demand a just transition from your government. You have the duty to know the environment and the impact that this government and all these other entities, these big tech entities, are going to have on us. I know at the end of the day, it feels like we don't have a lot of power, but we actually do. It's literally in our hands. It's literally in our hands. And that's why it's more than ever we can't show them that they have the power. At the end of the day, we do have the power. So thank you all so much. Gracias por la time.
Let's give Isa another big round of applause. I'm so grateful for our speakers today because I am not one to... Thank you very much. I'm not one to be a speaker, so I'm really grateful that we have some really powerful speakers. I'm scared. I'm really scared for our future and our communities. And I'm really grateful to hear these powerful voices because really, this is the way that every single person in the world should be sounding right now about data centers. And so I'm excited to bring up another really powerful speaker, Leanna Goose with the Rise and Repair Alliance. She's really doing the work behind the scenes, meeting with our legislators. She's the one who wrote this petition for us today, and quite actually, she is one of the reasons we're here today. So let's give her a big round of applause.
Bonjour, ni Danawe Maganadu, Leanna Goose, ni Indigenous cause, Makwini du Dame, Gasaga, Squajamekag, ni du Jabab, Wabik Wini Sing Nindam. Hello, my relatives. My name is Leanna Goose. My clan is Bear. I am from Leech Lake. I live in a place of many little flowers right off of Leech Lake. I work within the Rise and Repair Alliance space, which is focused on advancing climate justice while protecting Indigenous rights. In this moment, we are in the middle of a climate crisis, and to pretend otherwise is reckless. These proposed hyperscale data centers will use massive amounts of electricity. At a time when we need to be reducing consumption, these data centers could potentially double or triple our energy usage. We cannot allow that to happen. We have to say no. They could also use massive amounts of water. One proposed data center in Farmington could use 800 million gallons of water every single year it's in operation. These facilities have the potential to drain our children's aquifers. That is our children's water. We cannot allow corporations to waste it and potentially pollute it with PFAS. We have to say no. I also just want to note as well, these facilities, they will require massive amounts of metals. Right now, here in Minnesota, we're seeing the impacts of mining on the wild rice. And we're also seeing proposed sulfide mining up in the boundary waters, in the Mississippi River watershed, by Lake Superior.
Shame.
Yeah. And this will impact treaty rights and the rights of all Minnesotans to clean water. These facilities, they will require massive amounts of metal for the so-called clean energy that they want to build. And once again, you know, we have to stand together and we have to say no. I'm from Leech Lake, and I just want to talk a little bit about what my tribe experienced. So a few years back, there was a huge lumber mill proposed right near our reservation that would have took the majority of the trees from our treaty territory. And our people, you know, we stood up and we stood against that. The Minnesota legislature had invested millions of dollars into that. And our people, we were on the ground, we were having community events and educating one another. We were going door to door and getting signatures for a petition that we carried to the Capitol. We had our tribe fighting it in the courts. And through all of that, we were able to stop that bad. And I see these communities across Minnesota doing the same thing. And I just want to encourage you, you know, keep doing it, keep it up, hold it off, hold off that bad. And eventually they will go away once they see how we do not want these facilities. We have to say no for our children's future. We have to say no for the water. We do not need artificial intelligence. These facilities will mainly be built to power artificial intelligence, which is not something that we need. Artificial intelligence is already being used nefariously by our government. They're using it for mass surveillance. They've used it in the military to take lives. We cannot allow this to move forward at this rate. And this moratorium, this petition, it is a tool that we can use to help stop these facilities. And I encourage everyone who is from an impacted community to go to your city council, call for a moratorium there as well. Keep speaking up, use that public comment period, and let them know you do not consent to your community being a sacrifice zone. Keep organizing, keep gathering signatures for this petition. We're delivering it to Governor Walz today, and I welcome everyone to walk with us, but this is not the end. Next year, this legislation will come up again, calling for a moratorium, and we can use this petition to show how many Minnesotans just do not want these data centers. I'm going to now introduce someone.
Where's the petition now? I haven't signed it yet.
Oh, you can go to mukwamikanam.org, I believe, and sign up there. Or here's her report here.
Yes, and so we were going to bring petitions for everyone to sign, but our printer jammed up on us, and so we weren't able to bring it. What we are doing, though, is if you have not been able to sign the petition yet, please visit our website, mukwaminkana.org, and sign the petition. We will be doing another delivery towards the end of the year, and so, hey, maybe we'll have another event with more free shirts, and we can get more people out here.
I'll come sit by you after. Miigwech, Bizindawiak, thank you all for listening. I'm going to invite up Alex Moriso she's from an impacted community near the Hermantown Data Center. Miigwech.
Buju, Minawada Bitko, Nindijinikaz, Nindodam Name, Nindunji, Wana Dawanang, Ayaga Mishkwebikong. My name is Alex Morso, and I'm a student from the University of Minnesota Duluth, and I study public health as my major and social science data analytics as my minor. I'm also Indigenous to Couchiching First Nation of Treaty 3 Ontario and the Red Cliff Band of Lake Superior Chippewa Indians in Wisconsin. My name means to follow the water trail, and my clan is the Sturgeon Clan. And I honor my name, my clan, and my spiritual responsibility through my education. The Sturgeon Clan is known to be as leaders through knowledge, and how I feel that following the water trail is to support those around me to a better well-being. From what I know as a public health student and someone native to our land, is our environment is the foundation of our well-being. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak today, and I can share some of my words as an affected community member of Big Tech. In 2013, I was 10 years old, and there was a proposed massive 4-mile-long open-pit iron ore project planned by GAAWIIN Talconite in the Pinocchio Hills in northern Wisconsin. This raised concern as this threatened our land because of the potential outcomes of trailings and runoff from the open pit operation, how it poisoned and devastate our wild rice beds in the Bad River and Kakagan Sloughs. But we as Anishinaabe stood in solidarity to fight for our land, and GTAG dropped plans for the mine in March 2015. When I was 13, I went to Standing Rock to protest against the Dakota Access Pipeline in North Dakota. At age 10, I didn't know how scary it could be to be a Native person trying to protect our land.
We love you. Thank you.
I seen my people with bruises from rubber bullets and hypothermia from water cannons sprayed by law enforcement in the fall of 2016. And it's hard to see people that look like you fighting for the same things, wanting the same things. The battle against oil companies has been rooted in our history with economic development since the beginning of colonization. Line 5 is this 645-mile pipeline that transports 540,000 barrels of crude oil and natural gas liquids from Superior, Wisconsin to Sarnia, Ontario. This pipeline threatened our land by its high risk of a potential oil spill, which could devastate the Bad River watershed and spill into the Great Lakes. Today, we are addressing a new battle, the threat of big tech in Minnesota. Hyperscale data center development in Minnesota concerns us as Minnesota residents as the massive water usage, high noise levels, and the staggering electricity demands. But as an Anishinaabe person facing threats of harmful infrastructure to our communities, I'm angered.
That's right. Yeah. It's happened before. Yep.
This angers me because the indescribable disrespect to the land, the water, and the lack of consideration to any sustainable health outcome to Minnesota communities. However, I'm motivated to share and fight for our land and water because of my indigenous teachings that guide me. And I want to know why our land has the best fish and beautiful land. It's because we know how to take care of it. Because we value the relationship with the land, and we see the land and water as living spirits, and we nurture our health it nurtures our health and well-being as two-legged beings. Water is our first medicine. Water is what I've been fighting for my whole life. Water is what has sustained us since the beginning of time. It sustains us by us drinking it, us fishing from it, or harvesting wild rice from it. In the 7-generation teachings, one that I pray to be mirrored in the systems of the future is that we learn from the past 7 generations, but we also consider the 7 generations to come. Chimigoch to the organizers for letting me share my story as an affected community member.
Okay, we'll have Joey Peltier with a general announcement, but with our last speaker, it really hits us deep. This is how serious it is. And quite honestly, I want to thank her for her bravery for coming up here and speaking to us.
We're missing a hard drive. If any of the camera folks have a hard drive, it's yay big, has a little loop on the side. Bring it to River at the end. He's over there.
Our next speaker is going to be Mark Tilson from the Indigenous Environmental Network. And he is a true warrior, just like all of our speakers are. So I'm really excited to hear what he has to say for us, because I could listen to him all day long. So let's pay attention and see what we can absorb so we can share that good information with our relatives.
Wahopa luta machapalo prahe sinte awati oglala lakota. Yesterday was the 150th anniversary of the Battle of Greasy Grass, known as the Battle of Little Bighorn, where Custer was snuffed out. So being Lakota, kind of in my feelings a little bit with a little bit pride, bordering on arrogance. And the one day out of the year is really excusable. So thank you for bearing with me and my ego. I remember being here as a kid. I jumped off of that pylon right there and landing and feeling really okay. And now that's not something right now I'd ever do again. And I remember that day because we were protesting nuclear cast storage down in Prairie Island. And nuclear power is their game plan to power the AI data centers. And this is a technology that has been dormant since the 80s. It's something we've not had to deal with. And now we're seeing the reemergence of a new nuclear energy push that's asking Indian country to once again to become a national sacrifice zone for the progress of America, for the prosperity of billionaires. One of the things that people might not fully comprehend is every step of the supply chain of nuclear energy, native blood is shed. We die in the mines, in the radioactive toxic spills. We die in the transportation from where it's transported to, from the production. Highest rates of thyroid cancer in Minnesota is right there at Prairie Island. And then again at Monticello. And it's Minnesota has still created, hey, there's causality, but not causation. And they've had 30 years to test it and see the data right in front of them, and they're choosing to ignore it. And that is how they want to fuel this thing. This monster that's coming for all of us is going after our water. When they run it through even their quote-unquote closed-loop systems that are supposed to be efficient, the water comes out contaminated with what they call PFAS, known as forever chemicals, long carbon train that is stripped from the cooling towers of AI data centers. And if you've ever seen any of these things, they're so afraid that somebody's going to attack them, they light them 24 hours with security lights. And the noise of them drowns out and takes out the silence of the night. So we lose the ability to even enjoy the night. And I think one of the sad, tragic realities is we might be willing to offer up our freedom if it wasn't just so damn inconvenient. If they weren't going to put it in our face, if they weren't going to charge us for the pleasure of giving them our intellectual property rights. I want to build off of what Rachel Thunder has said. We can win. We can fight this. I'm what they call the millennials of the Oregon Trail generation. I saw the internet first come. I remember being on AOL Messenger and Yahoo groups, Ask Jeeves. I remember the joy of it. I remember that so many people would give you information for free. We shared what we wanted to believe in, what we thought of the world. Experts would literally go into Wikipedia and just give away all of their expertise because they believed in this dream that if we share ideas and if we share information, it's possible to lead to a more beautiful, freer world. That was the dream of the internet. And now they've taken it and they've poisoned it, they've weaponized it and monetized it, and now AI is making choices about which military sites to hit in Iran. And they choose a little girls' school on accident. And this is the AI, this is the future that they are offering us. And as we are labeled as undesirable, as resistors, some people are going to be called terrorists. And they're going to use all of this surveillance mechanism that they believe that was meant to keep us safe to oppress all of us, simply for standing up for our water, for our air, and for our future. I know, dark times, huh? I'm not going to end you on a low note or a point of desperation, because I actually do maybe not believe in hope, but a realistic optimism that's based on what I see. Minneapolis just passed a 6-month moratorium. I have gone to a anti-data center gathering in rural Wisconsin with almost 1,000 people present. The crowd was Republicans, Democrats, union guys, a bunch of folks with green hair and metal in their face visiting back home from Madison. And this is no longer a left or right issue. It's not a rural or urban issue. It's coming for all of us. And the beauty of this moment is this is the widest, deepest, most grassroots response I've ever seen. These data centers, nobody wants them except a handful of billionaire class that can profit upon them exponentially. And I believe as we're building this movement and reaching, I was about to say reaching across the aisle, but I was like, oh, fuck, I don't actually believe in that. What I do believe is defending our neighborhoods, defending our community, and operating with a little bit of self-preservation. I live in Minneapolis, and we went through Metro Surge together, and that happened. And I was really proud of Minneapolis. I was really proud of Minnesota. I was really proud the way that people stood up for their neighbors, for their friends, and for their relatives. It wasn't perfect, it was messy, but when fascism came into town, the Twin Cities knew how to respond. I think based off of that energy, that level, and also even the same folks and the same coordination that we have there, we can lead together and shut down these coming data centers. Thank you.
Awesome, you guys. Let's give Mark another round of applause. Like I said, I could listen to him all day long. Before we get to our next speaker, I just want to remind everyone, if you're thirsty, there's some water and there's also snacks at the table at the far end. So please, if you need some water, if you need some snacks, go ahead and take a break. Also, the shirts, the information is a relation, not a commodity shirts, those are free. So please make sure you get yourself one and wear it around town and strike up those conversations with your neighbors. Our next speaker is going to be Kathy Johnson with the Coalition for Responsible Data Center Development. And I really want to say about this speaker, she's really a true ally. She has been everywhere talking about this. And I'm really excited that she's here to chat with us today, because not only is she everywhere chatting about this, but she's showing up in the right way. And I cannot thank her enough. So let's give a round of applause for Kathy.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? I'm Kathy Johnson from Farmington, Minnesota. It's been over 2 years since the Coalition for Responsible Data Center Development formed.
Almost on your lips.
Is this good?
That's great.
Okay. It's been over 2 years since the Coalition for Responsible Data Center Development was formed in Farmington. That's 2 years of our lives spent wondering how our city could allow an out-of-state developer to dictate the terms of a hyperscale data center right in our residential community with disregard for the residents and the neighbors. We've played by the rules. We've educated ourselves, attended city council meetings, attended those sham public meetings, formed alliances with environmental groups like MOQA, and with folks from other cities where data centers are being proposed. And we realized long ago that city officials had been manipulated with misinformation and with unproven benefits from the tract land management company of Colorado, making our local efforts fruitless. We later learned that we had to turn to the legislature, so we did that hoping for protection. How does anybody think that putting a 50 to 80 foot tall building just 250 feet from a residential property line with light and noise 24/7, 365, how could it even be legal? Well, somehow the city of Farmington not only thinks it's legal, they also think it's a good idea. Does that good idea take into account the 230 diesel generators requiring 1 million gallons of diesel fuel stored at the ready, not only for regular testing, but also for power outages? Does that good idea take into account not only the noise, sure to exceed the MPCA's guidelines, but also new information called infrasound? That new research continually points to the infrasound phenomenon as yet another health risk, and that is not suggested, that is documented. Does that good idea take into account e-waste as computers are replaced on a frequent basis? Or the heat dome, another phenomenon documented and sure to affect the south branch of the Vermilion River? This natural breeding trout stream flows right through the proposed site. I could talk about the 4 endangered species at risk from the development on the property. I wonder if the river or those endangered species think this is a good idea. Maybe the city thought that the permanent job creation justified the obvious injustice of a proposed hyperscale data center, which they're calling a technology park in true developer style. The only thing is there's hardly any permanent jobs. That is just one part of the template used by developers to implement this Wild West style of gold rush, which data center incursion represents. This is kind of like our recent city council meeting when tract lawyers changed course. They guaranteed that the site would only use 500 million gallons of water in the entire year. Of course, in earlier public hearings, they stated that the potential end users would do their own engineering and design and permitting. But somehow now it's up to the lawyers to determine that they can just cut off the water supply whenever it's convenient. The AUAR in Farmington's project has not changed. It still is guaranteeing nearly 3 million gallons per day of water from the domestic water supply to the data centers. This sounds to me kind of like that old Who's on First skit. Who knows? So, the implication here is a closed loop system. That term closed loop is a trade term which implies a hermetically sealed system, and that is not true. There are multiple times and situations where water is removed from a closed loop system, but now it's mixed with chemicals that are so highly concentrated, some of them so water soluble, that they may not be able to be removed even in a treatment plant. Exchanging one bad idea for another is not a good idea. I hope that none of that water should find its way to the protected, pristine Vermilion River. But there is one thing for sure. The developers recognize a good idea when they see one. And that is the uncapped 35-year tax abatement, which puts Minnesota's tax dollars right into the pockets of billionaires representing the richest corporations in the history of mankind. After 2 years of watching the legislature debate the protections for citizens of Minnesota, I have really been disappointed that the only the tax that's charged on the electricity used seems any kind of a meaningful protection. The water protections are a suggestion that end users use the most efficient technologies regarding water use. I think that's akin to suggesting that drivers follow the speed limit. And contribution to help low-income folks with weatherization, while commendable, does not equate with the level of wealth which end users will generate in our state, generated from our resources. Current state law amounts to, in the words of Peter Regenius of the Sierra Club, a big win for billionaires. Now, does that seem like a good idea? Despite the coalition's lawsuits and other lawsuits being conducted by MCA, developers and end users are proceeding full speed ahead to get permitting accomplished and shovels in the ground before the public and the elected officials really understand what's at risk with the influx of over 20 hyperscale projects around the state, all accomplished behind NDAs with the public and the blind. So now let's go back to what is a good idea. Is it a good idea to rush to judgment on something so consequential as the massive influx of hyperscale data centers without answering for the many well-documented projects that come along with them? Is it a good idea to allow developers and billionaire end users to be the ones determining land use in our state? Is it a good idea to risk the health of the people in our state from noise, light, and air pollution? Is it a good idea to rush to judgment without looking at the cost-benefit analysis on tax abatement law? That tax abatement cost is rising as I'm standing here right now. Imagine what it will be after the first hyperscaler in Rosemont comes online next year. I think what is a good idea is a 2-year moratorium on hyperscale data centers. And to the construction workers that might be listening, that doesn't mean a permanent ban, but it means pause and look holistically at what many people in the court of public opinion are now recognizing is that data centers may not be such a good idea, certainly not under current law. Let Minnesotans be the one to establish the rules by which billionaire developers and end users come to our state and use our resources, put our citizens' health at risk, and all for the benefit of private enterprise, which is money in their pockets. It is a good idea to slow down and put Minnesotans first. 2-year moratorium now. Thank you.
You know, Kathy's right. I live just on the Red River of the north. It flows north, and there was a data center that is currently being constructed just 20 miles south of where I live.
And of all people, I did not know that this data center was even being planned or constructed until the building was actually up. And Kathy's right. Our citizens, our town workers, our county workers are having to sign NDAs for these projects. Is that right? No, that is not right. And if they're non-disclosure agreements, which means that they have to not say anything about the plans being made, about these data centers being brought up, which means that they are hiding the fact that they're building these data centers in our backyards. And if they have to hide the fact that they're building these projects, we know for a fact that they are bad news. And so our next speaker, Aubrey Dirksen with the Stop the Pine Island Data Center, is our next speaker. And she's going to speak on exactly what I'm talking about. These data centers going up in our backyards without us, the citizens, the ones who are being affected, even being asked. So let's give her a round of welcome.
I wanted to print my speech, but the printer wouldn't work. I blame Google.
The only time he runs, guys.
Thanks again everyone for joining us. We are live. Go ahead and follow, share, like.
It's okay. Never underestimate the capacity and the propensity of the local government to make poor decisions. That's the number one lesson that I have learned from these last 10 months. It's also how I started my speech at City Council this month. Wearing this shirt, you can't see it, it says, "I identify as a problem." At the City Council meeting, they had also on the agenda had a restriction to limit public input during council meetings. And just like all the prior data center approvals, it was unanimously approved, despite First Amendment violations and a clear attempt at silencing comments about the data center on the grounds that it had already had public hearings, even though we've continued to learn new information about this project through news articles after all the project approvals and public hearings are well over. Information that should have actually been on the table from the get-go and was conveniently left out. The unwavering dunderheadedness that cannot, for the life of them, grasp how punitive decisions and continued dismissal of their residents will not, in fact, make things better, is the hallmark of Pine Island and other frontline communities' city councils. But when local government fails, it's the residents that bear the brunt of the impact. That impact is what is continuously not being listened to, and why we are getting louder and harder to ignore. The impact is being in your 50s, making a promise to your own child that this is the last move. You were moved over 35 times, and you hated feeling like you never had a home. You can't bear to have your own child know that feeling. After 8 years of finally feeling home, setting up a business on Main Street even, that sense of home, of safety, is ripped out from under you. The impact is living in the same town for over 60 years, putting in significant financial investment to do the upgrades in your home so that you can age in place, not have to move out, and you can die in the only home that you want, that you've known. Only to have the city dump a data center blocks away. Even if you could move, you can't afford anything on the market, and nothing that's out there is going to have the upgrades that you just spent significant financial investment putting into it. Noise is the most concerning impact that you're worried about. Older adults like you are the most vulnerable, but that's a state-level regulation. And the state has done nothing about that, in addition to all the other regulations that they didn't pass. The impact is the months of sleep that I haven't been getting as the resident activist, the teenager in my house balancing feeling proud of their mother and also feeling like, why do they have to be the sacrifice? Why can't they just have their mom back? The impact gets even more compounded when we as residents are then also the ones having to do the cleanup. Cleanup of watersheds that once were clean but are now contaminated, wells that once we could drink from but are now dry, PFAS contamination that results in the lives of our classmates taken from us during high school. Too young. We only have one Earth. There's been a collective shift and an uprising occurring saying that we're tired of dying so that others can profit. There is another way. I keep hearing from local government officials talking about how they want just the facts. Let's leave out all the emotion. But I've got news for you. You can't take the emotion out of this decision. If that is your expectation, resign now. The decisions that you are making are responsible for humans, not robots. And they have life-altering consequences. You need to sit with the discomfort and the weight of the decisions that you are making. Your responsibility is to lean in, not away. The failure of the state to listen to those of us on the front lines and act has resulted in three judicial decisions recently that back up that those of us on the front lines have been right this entire time. What's happening in Pine Island also shows how great the need is for central permitting. The injunction that we received was granted on May 22nd. Now, in theory, that should have paused the project, but Google, Ryan Companies, and the city of Pine Island and Xcel Energy split the project up into smaller pieces and spread it out across different regulatory bodies so that it wouldn't look like this massive data center project, and it wouldn't trigger any of those pesky environmental reviews that would shut it down potentially from the get-go, and make Google do this thing called real accountability. And in the event of an injunction, it wouldn't actually stop the project as a whole. Project Skyway was approved by the city in January of 2026. So they were careful to point out that they were only approving one data center building, and it was 300,000 square feet. Those three potential future buildings on the drawing board, nothing to worry about. They're just potential. They might not happen in probably office buildings. In March, it was followed by an environmental review for a new wastewater treatment facility and a wastewater permit, which are two separate public comments and environmental reviews, by the way. Also conveniently timed for Google to slip in and orchestrate the water numbers that they needed for the data center project through the Project Skyway approvals that had been happening, and the development agreement approved in January requiring the city of Pine Island to advocate for Google while hiding the water usage under the disguise of municipal water and a municipal wastewater treatment facility. Then came the PUC dockets for two massive 765 transmission lines that go for the Badger and Power On Midwest that also had 345 kV lines, all connecting now to Pine Island substation. Then came the PUC dockets on those three potential future buildings that they told us not to worry about. They were actually three more Google data centers. And that docket also contained the electric service agreement, the rate that Google will pay for Xcel, but that's all trade secret. Along with the energy usage of those additional three data centers, it also contained the backup generators of those data centers and the world's largest battery that we learned about through the news articles. And if you haven't yet looked at that, if you look at that list of who received notices on that docket, you're going to see Polymet Mining listed. So if you have yet to make that connection between the boundary waters and data centers, you have to look no further than docket 26170. Now, why would Pine Island's docket in southeastern Minnesota have Polymet Mining, which is in the boundary waters, listed on it? Then came the injunction in May. It paused that one 300 square foot data center building approved back in January. But everything else keeps going. You following that? Then came the PUC docket for the Project Skyway substations and the transmission lines, an entire docket just for the data center. They need to double the size of Pine Island's existing substation and add another short 345 kilovolt transmission line with 4 smaller substations, because each of those 4 data center buildings needs its own individual substation. And I had to get Google's attorney to go on the record at the PUC open house on June 15th to actually admit that there are 4 data center buildings for phase 1 of Project Skyway, because everyone was still insisting that there was only 1 data center building of 300,000 square feet. But there's 4. And all of this project is taking place on prime crop farmland, which is state protected, and it's going to permanently remove it from the equation, but the state isn't doing anything. And they now announced the Mankato to Mississippi 345 kilovolt transmission line, also connecting at Pine Island substation, just this week. So, for those of you that are counting, that's now 7 environmental reviews and PUC dockets, all connected to Pine Island's data center, that all have permanent, life-altering impacts, like contaminating the potential drinking water source, the Zumbro River of Rochester, the state's 3rd largest city. They all require public commenting, and they're all happening in the same 90 to 120-day window. Each of them has hundreds, if not over 1,000 pages. And who do you think it is that is right there trying to figure them all out to prevent the harm from happening? Governor Walz, I'm tired. We're tired. And we're angry. And you're not going to get politeness anymore. Take your fingers out of your ears, get your private equity and big tech bills out of your pocket, and get your signature on that moratorium now, because enough is enough.
Let's give Aubrey another round of applause. She is really the truth to how corrupt these corporations are, how we do not need to be having these data centers come through. She's also proof of how we need to keep standing up, and we need to keep holding our leaders, our politicians, sounds like the Public Utilities Commission, accountable for what they're allowing to happen in our communities. Our next speaker is Rebecca from the Hermantown Data Center. She is also going to speak on how corrupt these corporations are and exactly what's going on in her backyard and what we have to look forward to.
Good afternoon. Hey, it's nice to see everyone, and I'm so thankful today to be among friends. I was just chatting earlier with Joey. We would be dead in the water, and I really mean that, without the environmental organizations and other organizations that came around us 8 months ago, because this isn't what I do, folks, right? This isn't what I do. So deep, deep, deep appreciation if you have supported a frontline community, and I think I might just have folks raise their hand. If you supported a frontline community, Owen Small, if you're still here, can you please just raise your hand, and can we please Give these folks a round of applause. They deserve, thank you. My name is Rebecca. I live a half a mile from the proposed hyperscale data center in Hermantown, Minnesota. And folks, our head is in the tiger's mouth. Okay, our head is in the tiger's mouth. $16.5 million has exchanged hands. 10 residential buildings. Ladies and gentlemen, that means houses are going to be bulldozed if this project is allowed to go through. You can boo that. Boo that. That's horrible. On Friday, so this is a continuously developing situation on the ground, and I cannot underscore that enough. So what Aubrey spoke about, this is our 3 a.m. It is our 10 a.m. It is our noon. It is our 2 p.m., our 4 p.m., our 4:30 p.m., our 6:30 p.m., our 7 p.m., 8:30 p.m., and 10:30 p.m. Problem. The longest day I have worked on this specific issue was 16 hours. And I'm not alone. This is a serious issue in the state of Minnesota, and let's stop ignoring it. Please, let's stop ignoring it. So on Friday, we figured out that our immediate affected had grown because we had forgotten the transmission side of the corridor. It's a corridor. So on one side is the data center side, and on the other side is the transmission side. We had forgotten about the transmission side. Are immediate affected. So these are residential dwellings that are going to be bulldozed because they are in the route, the 345 kilovolt route that goes directly to the data center site. Thank you. Boo that as well. So it grew, it doubled overnight. I'll add that being responsible homeowners, individuals on both the data center side and the transmission side reached out to responsible government units to try to figure out what was going on. On the data center side, there was no information forthcoming because of the non-disclosure agreements. And on the transmission side, the utility company subverted, and I quite literally mean that, subverted the truth. So we had a homeowner call, and the route was denied. Stated another way, in a year, potentially, I may have 27 to 42% fewer neighbors. Depopulation and displacement are certainly not signs of progress and are a disgrace to the local municipality and to the state of Minnesota. You can clap on that too. Too many people are losing their forever homes. These are homesteads. They're 5 to 10 acres apiece. And they were built as forever homes. People are settled here. I appreciate that big tech is capitalizing on already built infrastructure. I might wait. With location, I mean, this is good timing too. We have an emergency, okay? Yes, let's appreciate it. We have an emergency. I appreciate that big tech is capitalizing on already built infrastructure with location next to a substation. But the area is rural residential, not industrial. To our friends in the trades, and for certain this is very much an issue, our city council meetings look like Christmas. There are the green shirts for the trades, and there are the red shirts that are the
individuals that are against the data center, to our friends in the trades, neighbors, don't bulldoze neighbors' homes. They don't. They do not bulldoze neighbors' homes. Don't take the blood money. Don't buy the rhetoric. Let's talk about water. The proposed site is 6 miles from Lake Superior. It's an 1854 ceded land. I can drive to the bluff overlooking the lake in 10 minutes. It's in the St. Louis watershed, an EPA area of concern that's close to being delisted due to conservation efforts such as the citizen watch groups like the St. Louis River Alliance. And I want to express deep appreciation to those citizen watch groups. I had no idea, and someone sat me down for like 2 hours and explained what a watershed was. There's a nice photo over there as well of the watershed. According to the 1,800-page environmental review published on the City of Hermantown website 2 weeks ago Friday, the water use for the data center is 50,000 gallons, domestic gallons of water per day. If you're skeptical, we are too. That's 30,000 toilet flushes. We asked at the community meeting, the Google community meeting on Wednesday, and they threw in there like kitchen use, washing machine use. We're deeply skeptical. The actual number is likely much higher, closer to 5 million gallons of water a day. There are 3 loops, and this is according to the data center hearings in Ohio. So there were experts that came, one by the name of Stephen Petty. There are 3 loops: a closed loop, a loop to dump the heat, and a loop in the power station or the substation that Aubrey spoke about. There's no regulation for wastewater coming from a data center in the state of Minnesota. Let me list the chemicals. Possible components of the discharge. And we also had a hydrologist with us on Wednesday asking the same questions of Google. Like, what the heck is in the discharge, and why the heck didn't you tell us in the 1,800-page right environmental review? Here we go. Biocides. You can write this down. Grab your phone out. Biocides, anti-corrosion agents, minerals, scale, metals, and forever chemicals just like PFAS. The wastewater is treated for regulated components. So remember, what's coming out of the data center isn't regulated. The wastewater treatment facility may have regulations. There might be a 30 to 40 million gallon or $1 million disconnect there. So it's treated for regulated components and discharged into the St. Louis River. Because Lake Superior, the largest freshwater lake in the world, is covered by international treaty. NDAs may have also been signed by the water treatment facility. I'm going to wrap up here because I know we're all hot. It's a gambler's fallacy to expect a different outcome this time. So all over the country, we see the egregious effects of out-of-control data center development. It's a gambler's fallacy to expect that things are going to be different this time. That is wrong thinking.
Minnesota can do better.
Thank you. Minnesota can do better. I agree. This is not to this audience, but to the wider audience. I don't expect you to understand the cumulative impact of egregious data center development if it's not happening in your backyard. Maybe I should speak to the cameras. In Hermantown, it appears to be a takeover of the local government as well, as in other communities. If you just agreed with that statement, and I'll read it again, I don't expect you to understand the cumulative impact of egregious data center development. If you just agreed with that statement and you are an elected official, you have no business being behind the decision-making table. I am going to be bold today and demand the retirement or the resignation of the local mayor of Hermantown for lying to constituents. And I want city staff, and this may apply across Minnesota, should not have, they should be asked to leave who signed NDAs, because people are hurting. For the rest of us, and we're doing this already, I encourage you to pull on your good neighbor pants, your pants of courage, of resistance, and help us fight this. The Hermantown project is not yet permitted. We stopped that in October. It has not passed its environmental review. Minnesota has some of the most beautiful watercourses in the country. Why are we selling to the desperate whims of self-interested parties using public funds for private gain? I've been here 5 times, so remember I'm from Duluth, Minnesota, Hermantown, Minnesota. I've been here 5 times since February, at the beginning of the legislative session. One time it snowed up north, and I was here for 2 days, okay? But we're asking again, and we'll continue to ask, while it can still make a difference. Governor Walz, will you enact a pause to study the cumulative effects of out-of-control data center development? And do not forget this, high voltage transmission line is also an issue, ladies and gentlemen. Also an issue. In terms of the tiger, you cannot reason or regulate a tiger when your head is in its mouth. We need to pause. And golly, we need you to prove it. Prove it, prove it, prove it. Centralized permitting. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Let's give her another round of applause. Yes. And I really hope you were listening to her when she was speaking. One of the things that caught my attention was her mentioning the closed loop systems. And when I have been talking to my relatives and neighbors about this, they come back to me and they're like, oh no, it's a closed loop system, so it's not going to endanger the water, which is absolutely not true. And so I really want to thank her for bringing that up, because the reason we one of the reasons we're having this today is we really want to arm our communities with the knowledge, with the power, and with the information needed to help our other relatives get on board with resisting these data centers. And so we only have 2 more speakers up, so please bear with us, and then we'll be going in to deliver the petitions. In the meantime, if you guys are thirsty or hungry, we have water, we have snacks. If you haven't gotten a shirt yet, please get a shirt, they're free. We also have posters. Posters are free. I'm sorry they haven't been handed out yet, but those will be handed out. So if you want one, please make sure you grab one on your way out or right now. Our next speaker is from the Twin Cities Innovation Alliance. And I'm really excited to hear from them and what they have to say, because they have been doing this for a very long time as well. And so please give them a warm welcome and put your hands together for our next speaker.
Greetings, everyone. How you doing out there? We are hot, we're sizzling hot, and we're fired up. So thank you for staying and listening to all these important voices in this collective challenge to data centers in Minnesota and anywhere. My name is Marika Pfefferkorn. I represent the Twin Cities Innovation Alliance and the No Threat Criminalization in Education Coalition. You might ask why somebody that is focused on education would be here. Well, I'll tell a little story. So we've been organizing around removing AI from schools, the use of AIs from schools, because we know that oftentimes they're using surveillance, they are also criminalizing, they are capturing data, and it is without our consent. And so I work with young people and their parents and families and communities. I live over on the north side of Minneapolis. I don't know if you're familiar with Bassett Creek, which it is a community that has been industry decimated. And so we understand the implications. And so what I want to do is thread the dot between why our young people now that are impacted by AI in education actually care about data centers not being here in Minnesota. So I focus on the school to prison pipeline, the school and prison nexus, the school to deportation pipeline. And the reason why, and more specifically lately, we were talking about how young people are getting pushed out. Has anyone ever heard of school push out? Students are getting pushed out, and even more so now because they have apps that identify students that they deem problematic. They have apps and other things that are collecting the data around our children. During the recent Operation Metro Surge, they were using AI to actually surveil our schools and our families. And so when we're talking with young people about what is happening with the school to prison pipeline, what does it mean about data centers? We had to unpack that. And what it meant for us was that as we're thinking about the end game of the data center, let's take it back. And so what we understood is that there is not a disconnect between technology and the environment and the climate. And so young people made the connection and said, we have to do a both and. We can't just fight technology. We can't just fight the injustices in schools without incorporating our land, our community, and the data justice battle. And what we learned is that these data centers are fueling the school to prison pipeline and school and prison nexus, because the energy that is required in order to support the AI that is in use is a direct correlation to what is happening with these data centers. And our children said, what? Not in my name. Can you say it with me? Not in my name. And so they made that connection. They said, we can't just talk about AI threat assessments, or we can't just talk about AI metal detectors. We can't just talk about social activity monitoring on social media without talking about the detriment to our communities and to our environment. And so that's where we're fighting now with our young people. We went to Arizona, we went to Tucson to talk with the communities there about how they are being impacted by data centers, how their water is already drying up and polluted, and they're trying to take even more. And our young people have been connecting with young people across the country to make this connection. And so I ask you, as you're thinking about what your point of entry is into this conversation, our point of entry was education and the use of technology. How do you make a connection with another person by asking them what is their point of entry and connection? What is the conversation that I can have with my neighbor to start out explaining why data centers, even if it's not built in your backyard, matter to you? And so what I encourage you all to do is to think about what are those 3 to 5 neighbors who you might have just started talking about. Ask them and invite them into a conversation, because many people do not see themselves in this fight, and everybody has a place in this fight, whether it's workforce, education, environment, whatever it is, land, you have a place in this fight. The other thing I just want to really ask you all to think about is, what is the one thing that you learned that you can take back today? Did you learn something from all these amazing speakers today? I want you to hold on to what it is you heard so you can be the ambassador, the translator, the bridger who actually unpacks what's going on here in a way that a kindergartner, a 5th grader, a high school, a mother, a father, a grandmother. And so as we continue to have this conversation, we cannot separate justice, because the justice somewhere is also justice everywhere. I know I flubbed the quote up. I apologize, but somebody in this audience knows it, can shout it out right now. An injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. It was me. I shouted it out. Okay. So the only thing I want to remind us is propaganda is real slick. And you've heard about how people are saying that they can improve data centers, right? That's greenwashing. We don't believe it. We know better because we see the pattern of behavior and we are ready to say no. So what do we want to say when someone says, oh, we will be careful with the environment? I want you to shout, we don't believe. We don't believe. We don't believe that AI will support our young people, our workforce, our climate, or anyone. We don't believe, but what we do believe is that you, me, everyone in this community together, we're going to stand strong and we are going to make sure that this moratorium is put in place. Am I right? We believe that we will win.
Oh my gosh, she said exactly what I wanted to say all day. Exactly how I wanted it to be said. Let's give her another round of applause. Yes! And then our last speaker is Liz Bolsoni, I hope I said that right, with the Minnesota Anti-War Coalition. And I'm going to ask everyone to come gather around, come take a seat. Let's really pay attention to this. And then also I'm going to be taking pictures of y'all too as a group picture. Okay? So let's come together. Let's all come take a seat. Let's really, really put our ears up and really give our full attention to our last speaker. Thank you so much. All right, I know we're tired, but if you can repeat after me. We say justice, you say how? You say how? No more data centers now! No more data centers now! We say justice, you say how? We say justice, you say how? Shut down data centers now! Shut down data centers now! Awesome. Thank you for joining me in the chant. I want us to have that same energy when we walk inside. So everyone, my name is Liz Bolsoni, and I organize here in the Twin Cities with the Minnesota Anti-War Committee. We work to end U.S. imperialism and intervention, and we're really glad to be here to say no to big tech, to data centers, mass surveillance, and the AI-powered carnage that's being administered worldwide. And earlier this month, we showed a film called A Tree Prayer Basanja. The film depicts a land dispute between two men in a community in the Congo Basin rainforest, and the message of the film is that while both parties thought they were in the right, neither would take responsibility for cutting the other's crop and ultimately harming the land. The two men are reminded by a court of their elders the meaning of Basanja, an ancestral code of conduct highlighting that justice for the people and justice for the land is intertwined. And I mention this because the exploitation of land and labor happening in the Congo is a part of the same imperialist system that stole this land through genocide and dishonest treaties. It's the same system that continues to exploit this land and those of us who are living on and with it. And we too must heed the demands and governance of our indigenous siblings, saying that big tech is a threat to our freedoms, a threat to black and brown and indigenous communities, and it is not welcome here. The Anti-War Committee's current and most long-standing campaign has been to get the Minnesota State Board of Investment, which the current Governor Tim Walz chairs, to divest state pension funds and taxpayer money from Israel and companies that sustain and profit from Israel's racist, genocidal apartheid regime. There is an entire camp of tech companies facilitating Israel and the United States' war crimes against humanity, and one of these companies is Palantir. Currently, just over $57 million of Minnesota money is invested in Palantir Technologies, which relies on data centers just like those being proposed for construction in Minnesota.
And while you've heard from everyone else that spoke up here today about the consequences of data centers on our land and our community, I want to add how data centers, and specifically the data that they store, fuels further destruction and harm here and across the globe. So what should you know about how Palantir operates? I'm going to talk a little bit about the US, Israeli military, as well as ICE. It's been almost exactly 6 months since Trump claimed victory for illegally kidnapping Venezuela's President Nicolas Maduro, which followed months of illegal strikes on boats in the Caribbean, killing hundreds. And the US military relies on Palantir's AI tools for these operations. And when it comes to the US and Israel's joint operations, there are unfortunately countless examples of Palantir-aided war crimes. Palantir co-founder Alex Karp himself boasted of their involvement in the 2024 attack when explosives were planted in pagers and walkie-talkies that exploded, killing 40 people across Lebanon and harming thousands more. Palantir technology has also been used in the US and Israel's war on Iran, where on day one, over 150 children in a Manab girls' school were massacred in a double-tap strike. Israel uses Palantir programs to create kill lists, track people on their lists, and intentionally bomb them when they return home to their families. So it should come as no shock then that similar mass surveillance programs are being field tested in Palestine, in Lebanon, Iran, Venezuela, would be weaponized against us here in the belly of the beast. Palestine advocates call this phenomenon deadly exchange, when worst practices of soldiers, intelligence agencies, border agents, and police in Israel are shared with the US police, FBI, ICE, and so on. And it's our duty to disrupt this exchange through divestment and actions, and as Rachel so beautifully said earlier, meet our prayers with action for our collective liberation. You're also probably familiar with Palantir's use of facial recognition technology, which is what Isa was talking about and how she was targeted by ICE. And one program called Elite was recently described by an ICE agent as a type of Google Maps for deportations. It shows marked individuals on a map along with their personal information and a confidence score for the likelihood of them living at a specific address. So it couldn't be more apparent how urgent this issue is, because that prototype was delivered to ICE in September of 2025, and it was wreaking havoc just months later here during Metro Surge. Knowing all of this, I think it's pretty clear that the word tech doesn't even begin to cover what Palantir is capable of and responsible for. Palantir perfectly epitomizes the consequences of capitalism when a profit margin can be measured in tens of thousands dead, deported, wrongfully incarcerated, and disproportionately surveilled and profiled. And it's hard to imagine how we could ever let these companies commit such atrocities. But I think Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry said it best when he quipped that we can both regulate and embrace data centers at the same time. Someone say shame. Shame! Well, to Frey and Walz and anyone running for governor in the upcoming elections, we don't want data centers no matter how small or how big. Because we see what's happening to Palestinians, to immigrants. We aren't going to let it continue. And that's why we have to fight back now. And I guess I want to add too, I think we showed the world that the people of Minnesota Makoche know how to fight back, allegedly. So to big tech, we say, you are not welcome here. And you can learn more about our divestment campaign at divestmn.com and find us in the streets. So I'm going to end off with one more chant because I know we're tired and we need to keep our energy up. When clean water is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! When native land is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! When Palestine is under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! When immigrants are under attack, what do? Stand up, fight back! What do? Stand up, fight back! What do we do? Stand up, fight back! Awesome, thank you.
Yes, you guys. Okay, my job's done for the day, so I'm going to hand the mic over to my little brother, Joey Peltier, who's one of the main organizers of this. So let's give him a round of applause. We all saw him running around, being busy, so proud. So yeah, I'm gonna hand the mic over to him now.
Ani Bonjour, Ernest Joseph Apicard Peltier III, Indigenous Makadewa, Makanduja Bandunjaba, Makanako, Ajiji, and Niniweg, Bajigamak. Oofta, I know half of you did not know what I just said, and the other half were like, you messed up, I'm laughing, I'm judging. Anyways, I said, hi, hello, I am Joey Peltier, I am from the Black Bear Clan, from the Turtle Mountain Band of Anishinaabe, living here in Minnesota in Bemidji. Oofta. I even messed that one up too, my bad. We did it! Dude, give a round of applause to everybody today that was here. I want to give a big chimigwaj. I got notes. I'll try and rush this up. Just give me a moment. I want to give a huge chimigwaj to one of our main sponsors for this event today, Indian Collective, following the Coalition for a Nuclear-Free Mississippi. Oh, can we just give a shout out for both of them? Followed by Media Justice and the Minnesota Center for Environmental Advocacy. I want to give a big old shout out to the Indigenous Protectors Movement, Braveheart Society, Rise and Repair, Coalition for Responsible Data Center Development, Stop the Pine Island Data Center, Stop the Hermantown Data Center, Twin Cities Innovation Alliance, and the Minnesota Anti-War Committee. Oops, I did that quickly, didn't I? Again, we did it. Oh, Chimigwich, who got sunburn out there? I'm a little red, but I was born a little red. I want to say that I am the program lead for our data center, against data centers through MUCWA, but it's all of us. Today, look at my crew. Oh, we got Gina over there, we have Charlotte who's wandering around, we have Shauna, we have Kim who's holding down the front over there. If you are thirsty, we have a very few left of water, but rate our food before you leave. Totally, I don't want to take anything back. Our vehicle is packed full of all this gear. Oofda. I want to give a huge shout out to our designer of this amazing, beautiful design, Sarah Little Red Feather. We did not do AI generated art because for reals, let's be for reals. We are also a part of multiple different coalitions and alliances within the state of Minnesota and nationally that are battling data centers across Turtle Island. I want to give a big old shout out to Twin Cities Innovation Alliance, along with the Anti-War Committee. We are teaming up to battle Palantir here in the state against trying to pull them out of our state pensions. And then we are working as a a national-wide organization, People versus the Fossil Fuels, if anyone's heard of that. And we're organizing across the country against data center development. I am fried, folks. I am fried, but I don't live in a town where there's a hyperscale data center. And MUCWA has done the work along with many out here trying to push the good center regulations policies that we weren't able to accomplish this year because of the split legislator. Boo! My God, we worked so hard and working alongside the city coalitions. That was heartbreaking. We're watching folks where their houses are being devastated, where their homes, their communities are being uprooted for big tech. For what? They're not even Minnesotan. They don't even live here. They send their lobbyists with millions of dollars, not even to testify at our committee hearings, but just to buy off our members. Boo! And unfortunately, we weren't able to pass Jack. We weren't able to get anything done this year, and that's why we were resulting to Governor Walz. We need you to step up and show that you can be a responsible member of Minnesota and do what's right and put in a 2-year moratorium until we can figure this out. Until we can put in regulations that are not going to bite us in the butt, that are not going to F our communities over, and that's not going to leave us out dry without water.
Yes, that's right.
You can't drink data, but you definitely need water. And it's obvious that these data centers are not for consumers like you and I. These are part of the DOW contracts for private security teams and for security services across Turtle Island. For what? They're not hunting Epstein predators.
Why not?
They're hunting people that are not even felons. It's a misdemeanor to come in this country without documentation. And that's why we're spending billions upon billions upon billions of dollars across Turtle Island for these cameras that are just, what? To report that the gym at a school is full of kids? Tell me that's wrong.
That's wrong.
Tell me that's disgusting.
That's disgusting.
And you understand that these same owners, Palantir, what was his name again? Peter Thiel. How many times is he cited with the Epstein files?
Every time.
Almost every time. I want to say, I'm not saying. He's connected. And we have the Peter Thiel who owns Palantir in Bemidji, where I'm from, watching cameras all across the YMCA, the kids, the schools, the daycares. Please tell me. Make it make sense. Make it make sense. So we need Governor Walz to step it up. We need to enact a 2-year moratorium, and we need to shut down any construction, any projects that are currently being built or even during construction. No more GAAWIIN. Minnesota says GAAWIIN to big tech.
GAAWIIN.
I can't hear you.
GAAWIIN.
Shimi Gwidge again for coming out. I'm closing up. I'm mind mush. I've been running around, setting this on. I am so appreciative of everyone showing up today. And if you could do me a favor, before we kill the cameras, can everyone get up onto these stages up here and say hello world? Because we're being watched from hundreds of thousands of folks that are in support of us. So say hello world, and then get ready, because Liana from the Rising Repair Alliance and a few others are going to be going up to his office and dropping it off. And if you want to come with us, check out Liana and make sure that you're part of that group. Chimi Gwidge. All right, bring it up! Bring it up! Oh boy.
All right, everybody. Oh yeah. Thanks for joining us. Looks like some folks.
Where do you want them?
I'm not in charge of this.
Huh?
So I'm not in charge of this. This is
you
live.
Want to take the banner with?
This is live. Like whoever was walking up.
Where do you want them?
Where's the banners in the way of everything?
Yes, of course.
Can I maybe bring that down?
Or should I bring it so someone can hold it?
Yeah, pull it off. Give someone a hold. I know we stink. I know we're sweaty. I put pit stick on, I swear. You don't have to get that close to each other, but, get in there. Shimmy Gwidge again. Oh. So, before you all leave, for sure, we have these posters. Make sure you take a poster home with you. And if you're hungry, make sure you rate our snacks. If you're coming from out of town, make sure you rate our snacks. If you have any debts that Joe owes you, make sure you go see Kim, because I'm done. Are you ready, guys? All right, folks, say hello, world. Hello, world! Stop data centers now!
Stop data centers now!
Governor Walz, step it up!
Governor Walz, step it up!
Minnesota says GAAWIIN to big tech.
Minnesota says GAAWIIN to big tech.
All right.
Okay, folks. Who's going up? Go up.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and walk with them till the door, and then I'm going to take the feed down. So I'm not going to go in, I don't think, because I think the building's pretty epic. So who's taking this petition in? Are they in there? Maybe they left already. All right, I'm just going to move around. Guys, thanks for joining us. This is the Indigenous Protective Movement feed. Really glad to be here and solidarity and support of the Muckwa folks and all of that coalition you just heard. There's some tables. I kind of wanted to show everyone kind of what was going on because I know we're pretty focused on the front. I'm going to walk to the door, but I'm not going to bring it in. I want to also see what it was like to walk with this. That's what we're doing. All right. Hey, can you tell me what the petition says really quick?
Yeah. So the petition says, Governor Walz enact a moratorium on data centers now. We demand an immediate moratorium on the approval, permitting, and construction of hyperscale data centers at the federal, state, and local levels, which would remain in effect unless and until comprehensive enforceable regulatory frameworks are established to safeguard water, energy systems, environmental integrity, and the health and welfare of impacted communities. A moratorium is necessary to prevent irreparable harm while policymakers and regulators develop clear, transparent, and science-based standards governing resource consumption, environmental impacts, land use, and community protections. In absence of such regulations, continued development poses significant and potentially irreversible risks to human health and water supplies. A pause on hyperscale data construction will allow time to develop regulations and help communities to understand the potential negative impacts of these projects and allow time for communities to decide whether they consent to these projects moving in next door. Many projects were and still are concealed behind non-disclosure agreements, preventing citizens from even beginning to grasp how their communities might be affected. A large-scale data center proposed in Farmington, Minnesota could use over 800 million gallons of water in 1 year. These facilities have the potential to drain aquifers while also putting our drinking water at risk of becoming contaminated. We cannot waste our children's and the next generation's water to power artificial intelligence. Clean water is needed for their survival. The energy required to power these facilities is also something our planet cannot afford to waste. A Department of Energy report predicted that blackouts would increase 100-fold by 2030 due to the energy needed by hyperscale data centers. It was predicted that Minnesota's electricity usage would double if all 10 proposed data centers were built. And now we're at the point of 20, so that could be potentially tripling our energy usage. Bloomberg notes wholesale electricity costs as much as 267% more than it did 5 years ago in areas near data centers. To be clear, nuclear energy is not the answer to this either. Nuclear energy leaves behind legacy contamination, and the radioactive waste that is created remains a threat for many generations on into the future. There is no solution for long-term storage of this waste at the moment. But as the demand for electricity grows, so will the demand for critical metals. High metals are being diverted to build massive data centers to power artificial intelligence rather than urgently needed climate solutions. The consequences of this are irreversible. Metal mining is the most polluting industry in the United States, according to the EPA, leaving behind toxic contamination that can persist for generations and is often impossible to fully reverse. The burden of this extraction falls disproportionately on Indigenous communities. Morgan Stanley Research estimates that 97% of the nickel, 89% of the copper, 79% of the lithium, and 68% of cobalt reserves and resources in the United States lie beneath or within 35 miles of tribal lands. We cannot sacrifice Indigenous homelands so the ultra-wealthy can continue amassing profits on a scale that far exceeds any reasonable human need. Other harmful impacts that accompany these proposed projects include noise, light pollution, and heating of local communities. CNN reported that areas near hyperscale data centers are creating heat islands, warming up the land around them by as much as 16 degrees. Communities must be allowed time to understand the true impacts of these facilities and decide whether they consent to their construction next to their homes. A moratorium will allow time to create regulations and environmental frameworks that enable full transparency into the true cost of these projects. At this moment, what these facilities take from communities far outweighs the benefits that they provide. We must hit pause and enact a moratorium now to allow time to look at who truly benefits and who pays the cost, because it is not us. So, miigwech. Yeah.
And how many signatures are there on there right now?
There are over 3,000 signatures, so we're going to continue building this up and continue using it as a tool. Yeah. Okay. We're going to continue using it as a tool to push back against these hyperscale data centers. This year, a moratorium was introduced, but it's stalled out. So we will keep collecting signatures on up until we have enough to stop these data centers.
Yeah, so there's going to be like another, after this delivery, you're going to keep collecting signatures and do another delivery, or?
Yeah, so we can use it as a tool, like local communities can bring it forward to show how many people in Minnesota do not want a data center. And we can also use it for when legislation is brought forward. We can put it on the record and show that there are Minnesotans who do not want to see data centers in their state for all of the reasons stated within the petition.
Well, I'm just going to follow you all to the door.
Okay. Are everybody ready?
Who's everybody? Y'all? These folks? All right. Let's go. All right, walk us to the door and then we'll take the feed down. I'm not going to go inside. Yeah, that's why I'm not going to go.
Do you know where the governor's office is?
It's in here.
Okay. I know it's in here.
It's in there.
Don? Gina!
All right, everybody, we're going to just walk into the door. Thanks. No data center.
Okay, lead the way.
You know, Governor Walz ran the half marathon last weekend, right along Lake Superior. Wow. And he was like talking out, you know, beautiful, and we get to struggle along Lake Superior. Lake, right?
And then you don't want to stand up and speak.
All right, they're going to go into... We're in St. Paul right now. I didn't figure it out. This is the capital of Minnesota. They're going to deliver those petitions to Governor Walz. What's up? More people are going to join them. You can still catch up. You can still catch up. Yeah, I'm not going to go on. I'm going to see you all going. Oh, where was the website to sign the petition?
It is mukwaminkana.org, and you can see the spelling on the back of my shirt.
Good.
Thanks, guys.
Take care.
No data centers.
All right, we're going to walk up to the front. I'll show you the Capitol one more time, then I am going to take this feed down. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Oh, there's some more people trying to catch up. cool. That was nice. There was a lot of good information there. I hope it's very long, so but also you don't have to like watch it. You can just let it play in audio. This is what I do in my life. Listen to a lot of audio while I'm doing chores. I do chores. I mean, it's just work. I don't know. Chores is a weird word. It's just like my life is laundry. But anyways, okay. Walk back up here. Who's that? I think I can try to talk to some of these folks.
These are our tables too, right? No, I think all of these tables will rent.
Okay, I'm gonna take it down. This is really good time. All right, I'm gonna have to set this camera down, and then I'm gonna turn this off. Again, follow us. This is Indigenous Protection Movement live feed. I am Lorenzo Serna, and just wanted to bring you out here live. We'll be live a lot more, I'm pretty sure. If you do like this, keep following it. I've been doing a lot of press conferences. This is me practicing for having to walk around with this kit. And so eventually we'll probably get in some marches. We'll probably be in the street a few times, But right now, just to get information out, good, clean. You can listen to it and understand what's going on. And then I guess we'll all act together in a good way. All right. Appreciate you. I'm going to see if I can put this back. Watching the test here. All right. Thanks again. Well, like and share if you're watching the Indigenous Protection Movement webpage. You can sign up for our newsletter. We'll be sending out a newsletter, hopefully quarterly to start. We'll go from there. And yeah, good times, solidarity, and support always. Talk soon.